Good morning everyone. Today Anish Leon, student of BSc Nursing second year, is here before you to present my presentation on the topic broad spectrum antibiotics under the guidance of Sister Deepti. So we'll start with the introduction. A broad spectrum antibiotic is an antibiotic that acts on two major bacterial groups, the gram positive and gram negative. So as we all know, there are two major groups of bacteria, that is gram positive and gram negative according to gram stains. So it will act on both of them, or any antibiotic that acts against a wide range of disease causing bacteria. Next, these medications are used when a bacterial infection is suspected but the group of bacteria is unknown. So these medication can also be used when we have known that some bacterial infection is there, but we don't know which exact bacteria has affected. So in that case, we can use these medications, or when infection with multiple group of bacteria is suspected. So there are many broad spectrum antibiotics, but we'll deal with two of them. That is, first is chloromaphenicol and the second one is tetracycline. First we'll see the chloromaphenicol in detail. So chloromaphenicol, also known as chloromycetin, it was isolated in 1947 from Streptomyces venezuelae. It was synthesized in 1949, a first completely synthetic. It was synthetically synthesized in 1949. Then it is bacteriostatic. So bacteriostatic means, like as the word suggests, bacterio means bacteria and static means something stopping or still. So these medications are basically acting on the bacteria and stopping its further growth, development and functions. So chloromaphenicol is one of them. Then it's a broad spectrum aerobic and anaerobic, positive and gram negative. So it is a broad spectrum antibiotic as we are studying it in this particular genre. So it is a broad spectrum aerobic and anaerobic. So it will act on both aerobic and anaerobic bacteria, and it is for both in gram positive and gram negative. So it is used against rickettsia, not against chlamydia, maybe cidal for H. influenzae and in meningitis and bacteroids. We'll see the mechanism of action. It is one of the important thing when you study the medicines, so we'll see it clearly. So chloromaphenicol, it binds to the 50S ribosome subunit. So as we all know that the ribosome, so in ribosome there are two units, two subunits, that is the 30S and the 50S. So it will chloromaphenicol will bind to the 50S ribosome subunit, prevents formation of peptide bond. So the bond between the amino acids that is going inside the particular ribosome, so it to form that bond, so the bond between them is the peptide bond. So it will break that bond, or we can say it will prevent from the formation of that particular bond, and by this it will inhibit the protein synthesis. So like this it will inhibit protein synthesis. So we'll see a video through which we'll get into this very nicely. A small video is there, you can see it. So as you saw in the video, as I told the mechanism, it was all that only, that it prevents the protein formation. So that's how it inhibits the protein synthesis, and as the protein synthesis is stopped, then the bacterial growth and development is also stopped, and this is how it is stopped from further growing. So that's how chromaphenicol acts. Now we'll see the pharmacokinetics of chromaphenicol. First, rapid and complete oral absorption. So it is complete oral absorption, can given orally and IV intravenously, widely distributed in body compartments including CSF, that is the cerebrospinal fluid. Then last, glucocorneal conjugation in liver. So basically it is a kind of metabolic pathway in liver which helps in the inactivation of the particular drug. Then major excretion by urine, bile and feces. So its excretion is basically by urine through bile and feces. Dose decreased in newborn, premature and infants. So dose decreased in newborn. So in newborn the dose is very much decreased, and in premature infants also. Now we'll see its therapeutic uses. It can be used in bacterial meningitis. Then second, it can be used in tropical ear eye preps. Then third, it can be used in serious rickettsial infections. Then fourth, it can be used in children more than 8 years where tetracyclines are contraindicated. Then early use to treat typhoid fever. Then we'll see its adverse reactions. So first is gastrointestinal disturbances like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, oral vaginal candidiasis. Then second is bone marrow disturbances, idiosyncratic, dose related and reversible, decrease in RBC production, aplastic anemia. Then newborn infants, then toxicity like glucocornide conjugation dose more than 50 mg per kg, or gray baby syndrome. Now what is this gray baby syndrome? It is a kind of circulatory collapse that occurs in the premature or newborn infants. Because of the overdosage of this chromaphenicol, this can occur, which is a syndrome which have this particular symptoms, that is vomiting, hypothermia, gray color, collapse, and these are some gray baby syndrome symptoms. Then last is superinfection. Then we'll see our second drug, that is tetracyclines. So we'll move to tetracycline. That is, first they have a nucleus of 4 tetracycle rings. So there where the name comes tetracyclines, it is a tetracyclic ring. So as you can see on your screens, the structure is given here. Then it is obtained from soil actinomycetes. Then spectrum is aerobes, anaerobes, gram positive, gram negative, Chlamydia, Rickettsia, Mycoplasma, Protozoa. So these, it's gonna act on these particular bacteria. Then permeation into gram negative cells, less understood, energy requiring. So into gram negative cell, the permeation means the entering. So entering into gram negative cell is less understood. So it is quite less understood, and it also requires energy. Mechanism of action. So mechanism of action is again important, so we'll see it nicely. Inhibits bacterial protein synthesis. Again, this also inhibits the protein synthesis. Now it works differently than chromaphenicol. In case of chromaphenicol, it was inhibiting the that peptide bond formation. So now we'll see what will happen here. It will be a slight difference. So now in this binds to 30S. In case of chromaphenicol, it was binding to 50S. In this, it is binding to the 30S. Bacterial ribosome prevents access of aminoacyl tRNA to acceptor site on mRNA ribosome complex. So it's gonna prevent the combining of the tRNA to the mRNA. Prevents addition of amino acids to growing peptide. Then high concentration impairs protein synthesis in mammalian cell. So next we'll see its video and we'll get it nicely. So we'll see the classification. Before that, you have seen the video. It all explains about the mechanism of tetracycline, that it acts on the 30S subunit of the ribosome and stops the tRNA to bind to the mRNA, and thereby stopping the protein synthesis. Again, stopping the protein synthesis, which will stop the growth and further development of the bacteria. It will not be able to make its protein, so thereby it will stop working, and thereby it will particularly stop the working of that particular bacteria. So I hope it's clear. So we will see the classification of tetracycline. First, short acting, that is 6 to 8 hours. So it includes tetracycline, chlorotetracycline, oxytetracycline. Then we will see intermediate acting, that is for 12 hours, demeclocycline and metacycline. Then third is the long acting, that is 16 to 18 hours, minocycline and doxycycline. Then glycycline, tigecycline is the last classification. Now we will see the pharmacokinetics. So orally remains in gut lumen, modifies flora. So as you all know, gut means the alimentary canal, so it's gonna stay, in case taken orally, it will stay on the particular gut lumen only, and it will modify the flora of whom flora it is modifying. It is basically modifying the flora of the intestine, so it will modify it. Then second is absorbed in upper small intestine. So the upper small intestine, it will be absorbed, impaired by food except for dorsy and mino, calcium, iron, magnesium, aluminum in dairy products and antacids. So it's gonna these particular things are gonna these foods are gonna impair this particular action of this antibiotic, and because of this, the action of that can be reduced. So we don't have to take this particular foods in case we are taking this antibiotic. Then distributed in body tissues and fluid except CSF. So it's going to be distributed in all of the body tissues and fluid except for CSF. In case of chromophenicol, it was distributed in CSF also. Its therapeutic uses, it includes rickettsial infection, mycoplasma infection, then chlamydial infection, then lymphogranuloma venereum, then atypical pneumonia, bronchitis, trachoma, non-specific urethritis. Then it can also be used in sexually transmitted diseases like an uncomplicated gonococcal infections, pelvic inflammatory diseases, then latent syphilis. Also used in brucellosis, tularemia, plague, cholera, acne. So these are the, and other further doses are given inside this. You can check it out. Then its adverse effect, its adverse effect is on gastrointestinal, that is epigastric burning, distress, nausea, vomiting, abdominal discomfort. Then pseudo-abdomen and enterocolitis, then phototoxicity, then hepatotoxicity like jaundice and more in pregnancy, oxytetra and tetraleast among group. Then renal toxicity, then Fanconi syndrome, which includes nausea, vomiting, proteinuria, polydipsia, then acidosis, glycosuria, these all things. Then another is teeth, that is brown discoloration permanent. So because of this particular antibiotic, the brown color discoloration can happen in the teeth. So next is diabetes insipidus, by the antagonism of ADH action, antidiuretic hormone action. So this diabetes insipidus can occur. Increase intracranial pressure, vestibular toxicity, hypersensitivity reaction. So these are going to be the effects. We'll see contraindications. So tetracycline is contraindicated to the pregnant women. Like in pregnancy cases, it is contraindicated, and children before attainment of puberty. It is also contraindicated to them also. Now we'll see the nursing responsibility in giving these antibiotics. So before beginning therapy, assess drug allergies, hepatic, liver and cardiac function and other lab studies. So we have to assess everything before we are administering this particular antibiotic. Be sure to obtain thorough patient health history including immune status. So we have to obtain all the health history of the patient. We have to thorough through it, and then only we have to administer this particular medication. Assess for condition that may be contraindications to the antibiotic use. So we have to see whether if the condition is contraindicated to give this particular medication, we don't have to give that. So we have to particularly see that. Assess for potential drug interaction. Then we have to see any kind of drug interaction. We have to assess that particular thing. Thank you for your cooperation. I hope you have understood all the topics nicely.